Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the ETims penultimate podcast of the season 25-26. My name is Osmand, and I'm very glad to say we have a full house tonight. First up, we have the pilot of the Terrier Carrier, Ralph Malf. Good evening, Ralph.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I am very well. Ralph is currently sporting a lovely Cybermen headset while sitting out in sunny Stoke. So we'll see how...
I'm in Devon.
Oh, right. There you go. He's in Don French country. So you enjoy yourself down there. So thanks for joining us, Ralph. And we also have our tactician from the suburbs, Hector Bandido. Good evening, Hector.
Good evening to the champions.
Yes, and exactly. You just set that up for the Monty C. Burns. And what would the C possibly stand for this evening? Good evening, Monty.
Good evening, Des. Good evening, lads. Yeah, there's only really one thing it can stand for right now, which is,
champagne. So everybody, there you go, listeners. You can have a thought between yourselves. What could the C stand for when you think of Monty C. Burns? I'm sure there'll be a few suggestions. That's all I'm going to say. Right. So of course, we are here. It's taken we've had at least 72 hours to recover from the Saturday escapades. But I want to go back a wee bit. Before I forget, I just need to give a shout out. Hello to Karen Celtic, happy Celtic lass up in East Kilbride. I was up in East Kilbride Friday night to see Tory Glenfistle be victorious in the cup final up in East Kilbride, so that was good to see. And that was my pre-game game, so to speak. And then I had the joys of being on the sidelines with my sister watching my nephew's team, and a guy we know, a hun we know, started trying to give it all his patter. And for some reason or other, he's a golfer, and for some reason or other, he started talking about electric hand warmers, right? I'm going off on a tangent here, but bear with me. Electric hand warmers. And at one point, he said to me, "You really should get a pair of these, Paul, for the football. They're really good." And I had the joys of saying, "It's okay, my hands get warm clapping dies in Maeda every week." So, and at one point, and Hector, you appreciate this because we've been here before, and when I said that, a random stranger standing next to the hun just snorted with laughter. You know that way when you recognise a fellow Tim in the company who you don't know. So that was nice. So well done to the Glenfistle. They won the cup. And then it was raining. Tory Glenfistle scored the last minute winner, and we thought, is this a sign of things to come? So that's Friday night. We come into Saturday morning. I don't know. Hopefully everyone slept okay. We'll start with you, Hector. We'll start with you for the Saturday morning pre-game. How were you? How was the nerves?
Well, Desi, see now I'm an old cunt. I got up really early now, right? And I have done since I became an old cunt.
Is that intentionally or is that medically?
Yeah. No, and I think if anyone ever asks you when you become old is when you start getting up at ridiculous times like 5:30 in the morning. That's it. That's the moment. And it's not just a one-off for a couple of weeks. That's it, right? So kind of 5:30, 6 in the morning, even in your holidays, you're an old cunt. So yeah, I was up at my kind of usual time. But for the 5 or 6 hours before, I actually slept okay. Got up. The weather was actually kind of nice blue sky Saturday morning. It wasn't overly warm, but it was light winds, blue sky. Perfect day for a game of football. So I was up, Desi. I was up, prepared, ready to go. But I obviously had about five and a bit hours still to kill. So yeah, but I was up ready to go, ready to rock and roll, Desi.
Either 5 visits to the toilet or 5 cups of coffee, or possibly a combination of the two. Yeah. What about you, Monty? In fact, Monty, where were you at this point? Because you are the globetrotter of the team. Where were you at this point?
I was back here in County Armagh, Desi. Not just as old as Hector, so I was up probably a wee bit later than him. And then I subsequently found 40 things that I didn't really need to do, but should do to take my mind off the fact that there was a game starting. I think I went to the same shop 4 times. I didn't really forget anything. I just needed to go back.
But
But
it's still
bizarrely, no, it's just to apologise for the previous ones. But as the match got closer, I bizarrely got more calm. But we'll talk about that as we talk about and dissect the game itself. But here in the house on my own, I didn't want to take any chances of jinxing it in a larger gathering, and it worked out all right for me in the end. So yeah.
Nice, very nice. What about you, Ralph? Were you on holiday at this point, or were you heading on holiday, or were you preparing for holiday?
We hadn't even booked it by then. It was one of the kind of let's take the dogs away moments on Sunday. On Saturday morning, I got up early. And do you know what was going through my mind? What time do the players get up? You know how they need to be ready and fit and active by 12:30. Are they getting up at 4:30 in the morning? Are they going for a jog? What do they have for the stupid things that go through your mind before the game?
Ralph, but I was actually wondering, Hector may know, I don't know, but previously we used to get videos of the fans outside the Dakota Hotel, remember, waving the team off. But I was actually wondering, because we'll come to that, because that's my apologies, folks, and George, the listener. That was why I was wanting to mention Friday night, because lo and behold, on Friday night, there was a Celtic Foundation dance at Mar Hall, and the Hearts team had turned out, were also booked in at Mar Hall. And I was talking to someone, so those stories were flying on Twitter on Friday about basically Derek McInnes is going crazy, etc., in reception, and get told this is the foundation dance. The foundation gala thing was booked for a year. But I was speaking to someone in work today, and he told me one of the stories was they had a celebration drink thing on the 10th tee at the golf day, and they were all standing having drinks, and they had the full Celtic set up. And that's when the Hearts bus arrived. So you're looking at the Hearts. Imagine you're looking at the Hearts bus, and suddenly there's this group of Celtic fans and ex-players, etc., all this raising a glass and toasting each other, oblivious. They don't know Hearts are turning up. So that was a nice touch for Friday. But that's interesting, Ralph. I wonder if Celtic do still use that Dakota Hotel. So nerve-wise, you were okay, Ralph?
I expected to win. I didn't think it'd be a big deal. So calm right up until we started playing, I think.
Nice. I had a little bit of mixture. Monty just mentioned there, keeping yourself busy. I had to go over the other side of the Clyde and pick my daughter up, picked her up, brought her back. And then my sister and my nephew came, so I ended up making breakfast for everybody, and that's about 10:30. Then I was getting picked up for the game, and the guy picks me up, Andy picks me up, and his son's in the back of the car. So we get into the car, and me and his son are talking away, and I'm in Kings Park. It's not until we've driven maybe a mile and a half down to Shawfield, the junction of Shawfield, I suddenly realised Andy's not said one word since I got in the car. And I went, Andy, you're not saying much. And he just turned around to me and went, I've got a lot in my mind, Paul. And he was literally, his stomach was, this is a 70-year-old man, his stomach was churning, right? Absolutely churning. We ditches the car, we walks up, and as Hector mentions, it was lovely and bright, not necessarily that warm, but it reminded me of Hector of the opening of the Simpsons cartoon, with the blue sky and the white clouds part as you walk up towards Parkhead. It reminded me of that. And normally we would get up to the Celtic Way, and it was mobbed, and we'd normally meet his brother and chat, because his various family and that's there, and you always seem to meet somebody on the Celtic Way. But it was literally 10 past, and it was like, are we going in? Are we going in? And it didn't even. We walked in. There's his brother standing, and he went, "Oh, I can't. I'm just going to my seat." I mean, it was like somebody terrified, and this is a pensioner, absolutely terrified.
Me and my youngest, obviously, I'm driving over, and it's funny you're talking about nerves and all that. We're all a bit nervous, different ways. There's real panic nerves, or there's just like pre-match nerves, because it's a winner takes all sort of game, which is very, very rare, especially the league at Celtic Park. But you're saying that my youngest, he's 20, and his words his mother asked him as we were leaving the house, how's he feeling? Ma, I'm shiting myself. His words.
Your driving's not that bad. I've been in a car with you before.
No, I didn't go in the car yet. That's just before we left the house. And she was
I'll tell
asking
you,
about the game.
Bishop
Aye.
Briggs must have been right down Hull if he's feeling
Oh,
like that, leaving the house.
I know, shiting. It's a good old fashioned term. I was actually quite proud when he said shiting himself, because that's something that we want to keep getting that used and never lose it. But we're in the car and he was saying he was nervous and all that. And but it's your same. We got to part for the same place, the roughly the same bit we go to all the time, which is near where the old Tollcross bus depot is, and we'd walk up there and turn left onto where Helen Vale is. For those who remember, Helen Vale was one of the first, I think, Astro pitches in Glasgow. A nice wee stand I had as well at the time, all the years ago. Sadly, it's not there anymore, but it's new houses, whatever. So it's mobbed. That's when you know it's a big game, because we're there, easily there for about 11:30, and it's busy, really busy, an hour before kick-off there. And you go down that street, Helen Vale, and you turn right, heading out towards Celtic Park, and then it's all the young team. Fucking hundreds of them. And I hear clink, clink, ish. Aye. Or carryouts galore. And to be fair to the cops, right, I know it's not something we say very often, but there was a lot of common sense out there, because, you know, by the letter of the law, they could have dispersed and that, but they didn't. There was that many having a drink, and they were all good spirits, and they let it go. So I've just got to balance and all that. They did, but you felt it, and then walking up to the ground, it was just busy early. That's always a sign of a big game, isn't it? So
yeah. I know we don't mention it very often, but some of you may not be aware. Monty has scored a goal at Celtic Park, but Hector, I do have the honour of breaking my wrist on Helen Vale during a charity game. So that's as close as I've ever got to Monty's glory. I did break my wrist. That was like concrete, that Helen Vale pitch.
Was it 2G or 1G at the time, the very first generation?
It was a very small G that looked like a Z on it. Somebody could have a dyslexic G. You know what I mean?
That's a lovely stand now. Did we stand as well? A wee stand there,
And then, as you mentioned there, the M. So I come up for the other side. I come up for the Romanrock side, and you go up halfway, and you're just down a little bit for the Emirates car park. No, the coach there in the Emirates, but there's a wee kind of area where a wee bush, might be a wee tiny pond there, but that's literally where you've always got, like, say, 20 guys doing a piss. But it was literally just a beer garden for that point right up to the Emirates car. People were just coming off the buses with the car going, put it on the wall, because it was a lovely bright day, so they were just kind of drinking their nerves. So we crack on. We get in. I get in, and normally we would go in 10 minutes to go. But this was 20 minutes to go, so I did get to hear Faithless getting played in Parkhead, so that was a nice wee touch. But it was just before, knowing the players are warming up, Hector, and then Callum McGregor takes on that last wee run. They get down to the boat and then they sprint off the pitch, so it was just at that point. So that was good. So teams go away, they come back, everything's starting to go. The first interesting thing I noticed, Ralph, was we mentioned the Tavernier, the slap in the face for Tavernier recently. The first thing I noticed on Saturday was, before the game starts, Dyson carries his kids out at the start of that game on Saturday. Like, Celtic have got a couple of mascots, they'd at all. 3 mascots, I think, with Callum McGregor, and then at the back, Dyson comes and carries his kids out before the game started. And I thought, that's a nice wee touch. And then he takes them off. But no, this in relation to the whole Tav never got to do that kind of thing the week before. But I thought, is that a sign? Is that a wee kind of sign?
If you fast forward to the end of the game, he was out playing football with him on the park as well. But he's always bringing his kids to the football.
Yeah, but yes.
There's many a game you see him waving to them. I wouldn't read too much into that. It's a farewell thing. But as a contrast to Tavernier. As a contrast to Tavernier, it just shows you treat the players and the families better than other teams do.
True. Right. So yeah. So as I say, so the whistle goes, and Monty, I'm just starting to come to you for the sake of it. The whistle goes, and then somewhere in the ground of Celtic, there's a sniper. I don't know why I'm bringing this point to you, Monty, but there's a secret sniper who starts taking out Hearts players. They start dropping like flies. Should that Celtic sniper have got man in the match, Monty? Because he never missed. He seemed to get them where they shot, because they were hitting the
No,
deck every 2 minutes.
and I think the Beningame one was probably the most effective, because as we talk through the game, I think his removal had a huge impact on how we geared up as well. But I think I flicked it through either on our WhatsApp or something. I think my younger brother pinged me before the game and said, McInnes is setting up for the draw. Well, he says Braga's on the bench. And my counter argument was, no, I think he's bringing firepower on. That's his thought process. It's how he's finishing the game. It's not how he's starting it. But my brother had nailed it from the first whistle, Desi. It's clear they wanted, like, the ball, I think, was in the air more than it was on the ground. I'd love someone to actually time it. It was just hoofball. There was very little football played, but that was their game plan. And, you know, it's effective if you play it forward. It's kind of probably what they've done most of the season. They've dictated games on their terms. They've played a very effective but fucking ugly style of football, Desi. And they really did they cranked it up a couple of gears, I think, just to try and kill any momentum that we would start to build. And it was effective, Desi. From the start of the game, they really did stop us playing.
Yeah, fine. Well, okay. Hector, I'll come with you. There's a lot of talk before the game of lucky Hearts, etc. People were trying to make it a soft landing if they didn't make it by giving it if you had offered Derek McInnes the chance to go to Celtic Park, just needing not to get beat at the start of the season, he would have bit your hand off. And I was talking to my pal's son, and I said to him, if you were to say to a Celtic fan, all you have to do to win the league is beat Hearts at home, we would have bit their hands off or not, because it's not necessarily a game we should necessarily fear.
Yeah, well, the media were obviously, they were the media story of the season, and I'm going to say it, to be fair, the vast majority of the season they merited it, right? Because nobody gave them a chance at the start of the season. Us and the Huns being dreadful was the main reason. We especially us, we are so many points down compared to previous campaigns that we'd have won it easily, going back over the last number of years. But irrespective of that, they were the most consistent team in the league. So they earned that bit of praise. Even we might dislike McInnes a lot, how he is, but they earned that praise. So I think it also created a bit of a show in Scottish football, which is rare. It did. It was going outside this country. It was going to other places. People were watching it away from our wee country, or across the water in Ireland. There was loads of Celtic fans, and there was a genuine interest, and that in large part was due to them. Yeah, it wasn't just us, or although we won the majority of them, but it's usually if we beat Rangers, we're clear. So to have them competing for the first time over 40 years, it was a story, whether we like it or no. It was a story. But just wanted to go back to the match, Desi, in the first half in particular. McInnes' tactics, we could all have called them, right? And we'd all have been right. He'd no intention of going out for the first whistle to take the game to us, to beat us, right? His tactics were set by the long ball to the corner and one of his players falling within 10 seconds and lying down the deck for about a minute to 2 minutes for the kickoff. And a number of reasons for that. One's to waste time. Two is to ensure there's no flow in the game. If you disrupt a flow and there's always a breaking play after every 30 seconds or a breaking play after 2 minutes, but the breaking play lasts for 90 seconds, there's no rhythm to a game. And they don't want a rhythm to a game. We do. We need a rhythm to the game. We struggle if there's no rhythm. That's just how things are. Hence why we always say if you get an early goal, it changes dynamics of a game, especially for us, right? But they were very effective. Horrible, but effective. But where I had an issue with us, I was watching us sitting at the top deck, but the front of the top deck above the green brigade, so you can see players' movement really well and shape quite a lot. But where I was getting really frustrated with it was the tactics for us, believe it or not. You could see Hearts played such a high line. They wanted to squeeze the game into maybe 20 metres, right? So we'd have the ball towards almost the halfway line, but they played a really high line. The man marked, the big striker who replaced Braga, he was man marking Calmac when we had the ball, but when they had the ball, he was told to go up on Trusty for the physical presence, right, against them. But where I had an issue with us, we spoke about Calmac moving away, and vacate that space. And he did it. And Engels did it. They were going away, creating that space. But what Hearts were happy to let both Trusty and Scales have the ball at the halfway line. But what they two didn't do, or they couldn't do, and it wasn't that difficult. We had our front three bending their runs throughout the first half. And, what do you call him, Nygren, and Engels at times, and even Calmack. And they couldn't play a simple ball quickly, just for our players to bend their run. And I don't know whether it's a mixture of just they've not got the ability or the vision just to do it. But that was the frustrating thing for me, because even Kieran Tierney, he pulled up on the left, almost like left wing, several times. There's a simple dink over the top, and we were in, and we just couldn't do it in the first half. So that was my frustration. It was easy to get in behind them, and we just couldn't do it in the first half for probably lack of ability, one or two of the guys in the team.
Yeah, from our perspective, from where I sit in the main stand, you had a really good view of the Trusty dilemma. And it was interesting, Ralph, because McInnes was quoted a few times, and I actually watched him saying it, how when his Kilmarnock played Celtic, they were always happy letting certain players have the ball, and it used to be Scales. But for some reason in this game, they targeted Trusty. They let Trusty have the ball. And Trusty kept getting to the halfway line and basically getting fucking altitude sickness. You could just see he did not know what to do with it. And like, Hector, where your other angle, you're the opposite angle, you've got guys wide open, and you're kind of just saying, hit a diagonal, hit a Gary Caldwell pass.
The setup, Desi, it was really it was so obvious. And as the game progressed, Trusty's fucking blue screening constantly was probably the big source of frustration. But he's primarily left-sided, playing on the right of the two. So the angles that Trusty can hit are very, very limited. The type of pass that he could hit, if that's a right-footed centre-half stepping into that, he's got both the diagonal and comfortable with the diagonal. Trusty has to check back. It's not a diagonal pass in his normal sort of pass shape, I guess, or his kicking shape. So I think that's why they targeted him. He was the worst of the two worst options that we would have coming out of the ball.
Yeah.
But his inability to that freezing almost was. Well, he's a professional footballer. He can kick a fucking ball, and not only that, as they backed off, the Maroon Sea was parting. Come on, step in and have a crack. Like, you can kick a fucking ball harder than the four of us probably combined. Just step in and have a go. But I think that reluctance, Desi, that the fear, and we'll talk about the emotion and all of the game and the pressure of the game, and the coaching and the trusting the process. That, I think, is what kind of paralysed his natural instincts. But they're professionals; they're coached to do something. And if I was McInnes, I would have done the same. I would have targeted the guy who's not on his natural side, because he's fucked if he tries the ball that you should be trying. If you're on your natural side, he's going to make a balls of it, 7 times out of 10. And he didn't even try it, does he? Which was the key. He maintained his discipline, but Jesus, it was hard watch.
Yeah, but you mentioned there his natural game. I don't know. I don't know if there's much of Trusty's natural game being on the ball, to be honest. I think he's very happy to stand behind Scales and let Scales be the guy with the ball. And that's a good point about being on the right of when he's left-sided, etc. That's fair enough. But I do think it was very, very interesting. But let's come to prediction corner. Who here predicted that Hearts would score first? Put your hands up. Anyone? Did anyone remember who predicted Hearts would score first?
We'd have to check the audio from previous podcasts.
Yeah, I think you'll find that I did tell you that Hearts would score first.
All right.
And it was claimed that it's been negative, and I was just telling you it's been realistic. So Ralph, I'll come to you. I had a perfect. I swear to God, I was shouting, without a word of a lie, shouting. Why Shankland himself? And the first corner, I don't know if you remember, the corner was caused by Liam Scales doing a mad bending down heading movement, which didn't make any sense. As if he was trying to, I don't even know what he's doing. As if he was trying to touch his toes. Dexter, do you remember?
Still don't know.
The weirdest thing, but somehow the ball went out, Ralph, and then the corner get messed up, and then the corner. But Shankland was himself at the back post. Hearts tried a fancy corner that balls it up, but it went back out for an hard corner. Shankland didn't move. He just stood in the bottom himself. I've seen some people try to claim, Ralph, it was Arthur Johnson's man. But Shankland's 3 yards away from the back post, just waiting to run in and head the ball. How can you possibly, Ralph, leave Scotland's top striker himself at a set piece with a team that's notorious for set pieces?
There was a whole lack of confidence running through the defence in the first half. And that was trusty as well, playing at walking pace, bringing the ball out. And when it came back to us, it wasn't quite panic, but there was definitely a touch of the heebie-jeebies about it. And as the game went on, you got the feeling they were going to score first. And because they usually score for corners and set pieces, you got the idea that was what was going to happen. It didn't really come as a hammer blow, but because my first thought was, right, we'll get the finger out now. And we kind of did after that. It was just, I think we were waiting for something to happen before we realised we were in a game.
Yeah, and he just reminded me of the Hearts players. You would celebrate doing that bottom corner just next to me. And I can't remember what one was it he shouted into the camera. One of them apparently shouts into the camera, knows if this is it, and you don't know if their game plan of just going out and killing the game. Suddenly you're winning the game, and you'd think that would make it easier, but suddenly it seemed to make it harder for Hearts. They seem to get really caught between a rock and a hard place.
That's the thing, Desi. I think they were caught between the rock and the hard place before the game started because of the way the table set. I think also, that penalty at Motherwell, we talked about their body language on the pitch when the word came through. They were coming to Celtic Park in the absence of that penalty, very, very confident and with the right meaning that they weren't going to get beat by 3 or 4 clear goals. I think that was always in their head. So now you go 1-0 up, your game plan is perfect, but you're still in this fucking half pregnant thing. You're like, well, what do we do? And all of the tactics and all of the coaching that had been put into them in the build up to the game by McInnes, it's not that they went out the window, Desi. They were still in between the rock and the hard place. But I think mentally, they talk about Joe Brawley had this great phrase, the flow and ebb of psychic energy in the game. He's talking about Gaelic, any sport. And there's certain spikes that you get. It's like putting a foot down in a car. It burns a hell of a lot more fucking petrol for those few seconds. And those dopamine spikes and those adrenaline spikes, you don't realise it, but they take stuff out of you later on in the game. And the fucking irony is, had they not scored that, it doesn't matter now, but you're in a more controlled, this is working, steady as you go, versus the 2 major jolts. We'll come on to the second one, I'm sure, shortly. But the 2 major adrenaline jolts that happened right at that last period of the first half, everything changes, Desi. The dressing room changes, the tone in the dressing room. McInnes is prepping his own fucking head for the things he's going to say to them in the dressing room. And then counter to that, the point you've just made, or the point Ralph made, in our dressing room, lads, you're in a fucking game here. Any chance you're waking up? These are tiny little things that, or it goes in the game, hugely psychologically damaging.
Timing of our goal, that equaliser, was, nobody knows anything for certain, but a bit of common sense was possibly vital. Getting that when we hadn't kicked the ball the first half, we'd played their game, and getting that rare time where we managed to try and hit the byline, in the first half, which was one of my complaints all season with Yang and with Tenecki in particular, is very rare, very rarely did hit the byline, and it was Tierney. Tenecki did his usual bit, but getting that just on half time, it was, I think psychologically, it was massive. Not to say we couldn't have won and scored 2 in the second half, I've noticed it, but just had a feeling that was a massive time in the game to score just before the half time whistle.
Yeah.
I mean, what a horrible penalty it was, by the way, Bengal.
Oh,
very lucky.
Jesus.
Very lucky.
Right, so let's talk about that then, Hector. You were there. You're looking down. I'm looking down on creation, but you're looking right down on the penalty spot. I'm looking kind of behind it, if you know what I mean, through where I'm at. So you're looking down. And Big Scales is doing his Jon Snow battle of the bastards, protecting the penalty spot yet again. And then he hands the ball over, and we're all wondering who it's going to be. I think at one point it looked like Callum McGregor, and then Engels kind of walks in for the crowd, and we're like, it's Engels. How were you then?
Well, if it's no, well, obviously, Iheanacho doesn't start every game, right? So, but when he's on the pitch, he's the penalty taker.
Yeah.
But I always thought Engels was the second because he's been quite successful overall. I don't know the exact numbers, but if he's maybe hit 10 penalties in 2 seasons, he's scored about
10
8.
out of 10.
Or
10 out of
10.
10.
I think he missed one in Europe, maybe.
One in Europe.
One in Europe. So he's got a really good record, right? But he hit it, and obviously, I'm looking down. It's down to my left where the goals are. So you're not behind him because I don't get a perfect view. Obviously, I see he struck it, but I see the keeper's going the same way. And I thought, oh, fuck, keeper's going to save this. Wasn't until they showed you the replay on the screen in the ground. I thought, you're lucky. He's not hit that cleanly. And it's just managed to just dip under the keeper's dive.
Yeah, the keeper's body, as if the keeper's body's a bit arched, like horizontally, and it's went through that gap. I was about to say to you, Engels has got a good record of scoring bad penalties. No, like they're always heart in the mouth penalties. It doesn't put them in the top corner or send the keeper the wrong way. It's always this, I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure about this. And then, like, again, the relief when that goes in, and then the roar starts going up. And everybody, as you say, the young guy next to me, Finn, used to cut, he's like 20 or whatever now. He's in his second year at uni. But he used to come with his granddad in the seat next to me. And his granddad used to have a phrase, he's one before we go in, before half time. And young Finn shouted it in Saturday, like on 40 minutes, one before we go in. And then sure enough, Celtic get the penalty a wee minute later, and we're like, oh, there you go, that was old Vince, that was a nice touch. So then we get to half time. So I'm like quarter of the way through the left hand side of the pitch, and all the Celtic subs are warming up. And the first thing you notice is Iheanacho gets called away and he runs down the tunnel. And then that was a wee buzz. And Iheanacho's coming on already. He wasn't waiting to 30 minutes. So Martin immediately says, right, it's one each. We have to change something. We have to go for it. So Maeda goes out to the left, Iheanacho goes into the middle. And then the first minute, what was the guy you mentioned, the Hearts player?
Kabura, centre forward, Kabura.
Oh, no, the guy got injured in the first minute of the second half, the midfielder.
Oh, Beningame.
So that was karma, right? So we're just talking, because Hearts players had been going down, staying down. That was the worst thing. The fact that they were going down and staying down. And bizarrely, I know Hector at the game, Don Robertson kept giving Hearts the ball back. It was Celtic on the attack, and he would stop the game and give Hearts the ball. And it was mental. That happened at least twice.
And the one where the Hearts player was lying down about 5 metres from the touchline where the North Stand is, and Robertson allowed him to walk at snail's pace all the way across the pitch to the dugout, when we all thought the rules were you leave right next to the touchline. Yeah, it was just, we're all scared he's shouting at him.
That's probably couldn't be. We probably couldn't trust those Celtic fans to let them walk by Celtic fans. But we'll move on. So first minute into the second half, Monty, Hearts player goes down. Iheanacho, he's a class act. He stops the game to let the guy get taken off. And at that point, Derek McInnes has made his sub. Was it Frankie Kent came on?
No, he did that before that. No, does he? No. The Hearts player's hamstring, wasn't he, for a wee bit later on? He made the sub within a minute and half time. Yeah, and there was no injuries. He just wanted to counter Iheanacho coming on. So obviously he thought, he's maybe thinking he'll come in with 25 minutes to go, which was, he's jumped in, fuck it, I'm making a change right now within a minute, which was quite unusual.
Aye, so he's went all in, really. So he's made a change. Karma's came back to bite him on the arse, which was lovely, Monty. And then, as far as I'm concerned, for the next 15 minutes, we get the Iheanacho show. It was a model centre forward showing of, I don't care how many guys are behind me, give me the ball. I mean,
it shows you what we've been missing since When's the last time we had a really big, effective centre forward like that?
Alan
Sutton.
McNally.
Sutton. It's that long since we've had that big. I was going to say a Maeda Balde there, or heavy bio, because there was a player in there.
Carlton Cole was
Carlton
watching
Cole, yeah, for a month. It just shows you, Desi, what that bit of quality, and that's just that big fucking strong. But it's not just that; his technique. You understand now why he was sold for 30 million not that long ago. You understand also why, and I know we debated this. When would Martin go all in with him in the split? I know we talked about that a couple of podcasts back before the split. Actually, we were saying you don't do it early, and he still didn't. He held him back. I thought he would have started over the last couple of games. But who'd be a manager? But Jesus, he was brilliant, Desi. His touch, he did like a rollover on the ball, 2 touches, and he took 3 of them out of the way. They were all trying to outground him, and everything that hit him stuck. And if it stuck, he turned and he brought someone else into play, and he just completely changed the dynamic of how we were
He was
playing.
a focal point, right? And he was demanding the ball as a focal point. And he wasn't just bouncing it. The bounce is easy for him. And that's a good thing. He was holding in, bringing players in and creating space for others. And I think he also brought positivity within the stadium as soon as he came on. He had the reaction for the fans because we needed to change at half time. We needed to change at half time. I'm not sure if they're actually tired legs because we played a lot of games, a lot of the same starters in recent weeks, and we'll talk about that at half time at the game.
Yeah.
But him coming on, we needed that bit of quality there that would galvanise the team. But I think the stadium reacted to that as soon as they heard he was coming on. You heard
Were
the
you
big roar.
surprised?
Des, you were there. You heard the big roar. It was like, yes, here we go.
Were you surprised he brought him on at halftime?
No, no.
No, but I think he had to come on when he came on. But I think we all probably had the same idea as McInnes. He'll be looking to bring him on in 30 minutes to go max.
Exactly. First sort of trump card play. I'm bringing him on at half time, no matter what.
So there was one. I'm going to come to you, Ralph, because you've been his biggest critic. So I'm looking forward to your thoughts. But there was. I swear to God, I've not seen it again. So I might have imagined this, right? But it was right in front of me. And there was one bit where the ball comes in through the air to Iheanacho, and the defender's right behind him. The defender expects him to try and trap it or lay it off to the side. And he swings his leg beyond the ball and then brings it back and back keels it in midair into Maeda's path. I've still no idea how he managed it. No, it was like the speed of it. The defender had no idea where the ball was. Maeda's running on. It was just a brilliant bit of skill. But again, he does things like he takes the ball, wins the ball, and actually dribbles and beats people and can actually tackle. See, if he did have him 10 years ago, he must have been a sublime talent to watch. Maybe he'd never
He's
done
only
it.
28, is he?
No, but even then, it's always been troubled. But the sheer talent the guy's got, it's just unbelievable. So let's go to Ralph, his biggest critic this season. Ralph, did you appreciate that 45 minutes from Iheanacho as much as I did, which I don't think anybody did?
He absolutely made a difference. There's no getting away from that. That's far and away the best I've seen him play in a Celtic jersey. And I think the biggest difference was the first couple of things he tried, it came off. And he kind of grew with that. He was starting to feel more like the player he thinks, well, the player that he is or was. And the difference it made, we were more fluid. He was he was demanding the ball. If you think about Trusty in the first half running forward, nobody came back to give him an option. Nobody made themselves available. But Iheanacho was doing that pretty much from the minute he came on. And he was unlucky not to score. And there was a couple of other times where he was integral to the move, where again we could have scored. So it's a masterstroke bringing him on as quick as he did. But again, if we'd have started him, they might not have been so effective. I think he came out at the very end of the game. He was interviewed and he says he loves it here and he wants to stay. And maybe he felt he'd get something to prove. But whatever it was, I don't care. He done what he was paid to do.
Maybe the stars aligned, Ralph. Maybe it was just, as you say, things worked right away and suddenly the confidence gets boosted. But whatever he did worked. But the amazing thing, Hector, was that was just one of the subs that worked. Because you had Sarachi and then you had Osmand. 3 subs just ticked every box. it's a very unusual game where 3 of your subs are like rating 8 out of 10. You know what I mean?
Well, even we brought on Jamesy came on, and we used, and obviously Murray was the very last one, but we'll come to that as you kind of go on.
To shore it up.
But yeah, I think Jamesy came on, and suddenly Ian Hatcher giving the ground energy and the team a lift by having the focal point. We were retaining the ball, moving it, and we're starting to function as a team. And it caused less breaks in the game, which was impacting Hearts. They couldn't slow the game down. They weren't getting a breather. In the game, we're slowly but surely building just a bit of momentum the longer the second half was going on.
But Hearts had also committed to 5 at the back for 40 minutes. Not right, so they'd started to regress and had 5 guys right along the 18-yard line, and they still had 40 minutes to go. Not right, as if they'd went, this is it, we are planting our flag here, rather than trying to kill the game 30 yards up the pitch. They'd actually...
They'd intention it, and their stall was set that minute after half-time when they brought the other centre-half on, because we brought in Acho, and so that was them. But I would give us, you're right, the substitutions were pivotal. I mean, to our success, and even the change in formations throughout the second half. And this is the thing, it was actually Ange years ago when it was interesting just listening to the guy and saying, look, you might think I always play a 4-3-3, but remember, I might take off a left winger with another left winger, and they're totally different wingers. One's going to go outside and hit the byline, one's more inverted, right? Or one's more a natural, almost an inside forward rather than a winger, probably like a Maeda type of thing, if that made sense. So just certain players, although they might look as if they're playing the same, they bring different dynamics to the team. And Osmand's one of them. I felt, what a call to bring him on. Because remember, he'd done his hamstring away to Midtjylland, wasn't it, in the last couple of minutes of the European game. And for him, it was great for him to come in. We won't go over his goal, we'll come to that in a wee bit. But he added energy to the team. So suddenly Tim Sirachi was again, he adds energy. He adds energy and a bit of Gallus. A bit of fucking, come on then.
So people listening, the 4 people listening, you don't get to see, but I write these notes. I don't circulate them to the team. But I've got here, Sirachi, energy, dribbling, drive, pure game. I mean, as you're saying, a bit of Gallusness. So let's talk about Sirachi. Let's talk about Sirachi. Monty. I mean, like he makes that second goal.
Yes.
I mean, is this the actual? This is a left back. Remember, folks, this is a left back, and he's just a he made a ball sort of player. I mean, like we don't actually have that many. Like your Engels isn't a game of the ball sort of player. Your Neekins, occasionally he might like it, but Sirachi's demanding the ball, Monty.
But a couple of things, Desi, just as observations. Firstly, he made the Uruguay World Cup squad. Actually, all 4 of our fullbacks are in the World Cup squad. So, Ralston and Sirachi as the 2 understudies both made World Cup squads with Tierney and Johnson, obviously, as the starters in front of them. Trusty, if you rang them off, actually, it's bizarre to think. But Sirachi's also 28, Desi. I think Engels and a few of the other younger players, as they evolve, will become more of the demanding types. Because I was looking at that too. I was probably a wee bit critical of Tanecki as well. His lack of demand, his lack of Gallus, his lack of go and take him on and beat him. But I think that'll come with a bit of experience. But Sirachi also changes the dynamic of what we had at fullback completely from what Tierney gives you. Tierney's solid. Tierney's athletic. Tierney just does his thing, and he does it brilliantly. Sirachi is more that maverick, that the attacking, the classic South American fucking give me it, you know. And I read a brilliant thing, and it got me thinking, because at the time of the chaos, I remember in one of our either podcasts or our chats going, I really wanted Nancy to succeed, but he's fucked. He's lost. And somebody pointed out, when we went for it, we had a back 3 with 2 fullbacks in it and 1 centre half, which was Nancy's entire fucking ethos of his system. But clearly a man that couldn't get his
within
ideas
a structure, Monty.
within a
The
Within a
problem,
structure. That's
That's what I mean,
the
that's the
bit,
difference.
that's the important bit that's missing from your comments there, right? There was no structure when
What
Anzi.
what Srirachi gave us and what Johnson gives you by default because it's his natural game, all of a sudden in those twists and with the changes and with the ballsy change of Osmond, dropping Hatari when you needed creativity, but holy fuck, you talk of that's not a gamble.
That's a sore topic for Desi. Let's try to move on from Rio.
that's it. No, Iheanacho's my guy. I don't know. Who's this?
There we go. Rio who? There we go. Right.
Very, very quickly, drop it like a hot stone.
Sorry, Desi. But Monty's point, right, falls on from yours, and this probably explains it. Desi, you just said a minute ago, Hearts had retreated so deep.
Yep.
So the decision, you didn't need that many players because they'd set their stall out, they weren't changing.
Yep.
So it allowed us to make that change because we were going to be pretty much camped from pretty much the halfway line or 40 yards out to their penalty box.
Yep.
So it was a great observation by the coaching staff because they've obviously they're not stupid, they went Gaffer to Mon, I suspect. Look, they're away back now. We can afford to take more risks. We had to take this anyway, but we can afford to now do it. And it was, the last 20 minutes was just like the Alamo, wasn't it? The last 15 minutes.
Yeah, but again, I know we're not underplaying this, but it was a real balls out move for fucking Martin O'Neill and Maloney. Like you just said, I've identified that. And I was reading something the other day about how they identified Ibrox, holes at Ibrox, so when they wrote Glorious Rio Hatate on to save the day, things like that. So they have spotted things in games. But as you say, so like Saturday wasn't just a throwing shit at the wall and hoping for the best. No, like it was like it was tactical, as in.
But there's one piece, Desi, that you boys who were lucky enough to be there didn't get to see. Srirachi comes on and he goes to, I think it was Scales, and he just looked at him and it was clearly, where are you playing? And he fucking went, I don't know. He literally we go on to three at the back, but there was no other, and Srirachi obviously doesn't speak English either, but he literally,
maybe Fozzie in his best Spanish telling him.
No, they're going to phone Brendan and go him to translate.
But it was genuinely, it was the look of puzzlement on both their faces, and then they just settled in there anyway, just fucking went.
So, Daisy, on the Brendan point there, we'll bring obviously Ralph in a wee second, but interestingly enough, Brendan's parting gift to Celtic.
Yeah.
Transfer window closed. Free agency. Needed a striker.
Yeah.
Went into his little black Brendan book. Mr. Iheanacho. So Brendan will claim the credit for winning the league this season.
Right, but
somebody pointed out, Nancy's picked up as many league titles in a fucking month and 10 days than the previous entire management of Rangers have in the last decade. So, hey, karma.
But I get like when we were going 3-5-2, so you see, but that's that you see all the subs warming up and all that, and every now and again somebody will come out and shout to the subs at the bottom corner, and the subs will look up and go, me, or they point at each other, and then it was like two of these come up or whatever, so they come up, but you couldn't really tell who was coming on. It was all a bit of a huddle, and you're like, what's going on? And then suddenly it was like announcing the subs coming up, blah blah blah, whatever number, Trusty, and you see everybody going, what? I mean, like it was a total curveball. And the guy next to me goes, Big Scales is going to have to win everything now. And to be fair to Big Scales, he did. I mean, there was literally a one-man defence at one point because it was just like, go for it. But we want to concentrate on the goal, right? So Ralph, once you get settled, Ralph's on the move, folks. Just to let you know, all I can see is a can of Stella and a ceiling at this point. So Srirachi wins the ball, runs about the pitch. I think he loses it, gets it back again, and then drives forward into their half, Ralph, down towards the 18 yard line. Looks up and sees Osmond in a space for a ball to be played into space. And again, Hector touched on it earlier, getting the ball towards the byline and getting it cut across. And then plays a perfect ball. Somehow a linesman did not believe it was a perfect ball, Ralph. And Osmond plays that ball over, and Maeda literally scores almost the exact same finish as he scored against Rangers the week before, Ralph. How were you at that goal? Did you think it was offside? Because I've got quite a story about the offside. And how bad do you think that linesman wanted that to not be a goal?
It was obviously not offside. And when it was, the camera was on Maeda and he saw his reaction. And I actually shouted through to my wife at this point. I said, I can't believe that was never offside. And she says, well, are you not used to that by now? And then you watch a rerun and you still can't see where it's coming from. And they drew the lines on Maeda when Sriracha played the ball. But that's irrelevant. If you cast your mind back to Kyogo Furuhashi, he used to do that all the time. And then drop back into a position where he was onside before he scored. It was just, I wouldn't call it a perfect move, but it was obviously a very good move.
Yeah.
And if there wasn't a VAR, that could have cost us a league title. And it would have been a decision by a linesman that obviously either didn't know the rules, or knew them full bloody well, but applied them to his own, shall we call it a perception of bias?
Yeah, and we get told obviously these things balance themselves out over the season. You know, all these people are now trying to get rid of VAR. Oh, let's get rid of VAR, let's get rid of VAR. And John Nicholson, really good journalist, writer, wrote a thing in Football 365, and he was talking mostly, it's always about the Premiership in England, but he did touch on, these Scottish decisions, this blah, 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 blah. And I pinged him and I went, is that really this guy? He was going to come onto the pod sometime. And I pinged him and went, but he didn't actually mention the good things VAR have done recently, like that goal. Maeda's perfectly good goal because the linesman can't even see Osmand to recognise that it's not Maeda who's the last man. So Maeda's the last man, but he's irrelevant at this point. Phase one. But he flags immediately. I mean, he's meant to wait until the ball's dead or the play's dead. No, that way. Then he's meant to flag to see what happens. But for some reason, that linesman flags immediately, Hector. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the VAR. We go back 3 games before that, Easter Road, where Douglas Ross flagged Dyson for offside. That was a tighter one. He was miles behind the play, Ross. But the one on Saturday, we're in the stadium and obviously we jump about celebrating, but then the flag is up. And we don't know because we just see that live at the time. We've not got, the stadium doesn't show you in the replays that Sky will show you, for example, in the game. But it was quite a weird one, wasn't it? Because all the players, all the Hearts players had kind of got up to the halfway line. I don't know if it was wishful thinking, but the Celtic players were kind of, they were a mixture. The forwards were still kind of doing in the attacking bit, but they were kind of no next to each other. They were kind of maybe 10 metres apart. And I seen Carmack over at the referee and the next day in the replay, and he sent the referee no, as if it was pointing at, who do you call him, Osmand?
Not right. So I can tell this is what my story is, right? So if you, exactly as you said there, Cal McGregor goes to Don Robertson and he's pointing at Trusty. Trusty was the first person in that stadium that knew that was onside because Trusty was watching it on the monitor. He's been subbed. He's watching it at the dugout.
Right.
And he starts going mental. Right. So not like usual when you're at the game, people suddenly out yours. And he starts going mental. And we thought like, it's the usual who's fighting. Right. It was like one of the ones. And everybody starts going, look. And you look, and Trusty's like 2 arms pointing at the monitor as if it's onside, right? As if it's onside. And you see McGregor like the ref, look, who are they're saying, is it because you never seen him saying like the refs put their hand up and say, wait, I'm listening to VAR or whatever. I mean, like Robertson never done any of that of get away, I'm waiting to listen. So McGregor's going, look, he's indicating. And then behind us in the main stand, all you heard is boom, boom, boom. And you turn around and it's one of the hospitality boxes, the Perspex dress, and there's a big guy hammering the Perspex, shouting like mouthing onside. And then suddenly it was like, wait a fucking minute. No, that way suddenly the murmur starts, then we're all, and then we turns around and the guy next to me just went, I don't care what he's saying, the big guy, it's what he says, and he points at Robertson, and all eyes were on the ref.
It was strange in the stadium. It was because we knew the importance. It was late 86, 87, 88th minute. Obviously, it was a vital goal. But the longer, it's not a quick decision. I mean, it's not a horrible VAR 5 minutes, but it seemed to take. I don't know. At that point in the game, it was like fuck, come on. But it was something that's. Wait a minute here. Wait a minute. as you say, there's a sort of murmur, but there's a wait a minute. And then when he points to that halfway line for the goal, it was just to celebrate a goal that VAR had given. I've never seen anything like it. It was just it was crazy. It was chaos in the stadium, wasn't it? It was just people bouncing about, going mad. And it must have been 30 seconds of fucking celebrations at that point before we all got ourselves back in gear again. And obviously at that point, everybody's standing up. Everybody's there's nobody sitting down. Everybody's standing up, right? And I think just after that, Desi, I seen it the next day more than anything was the Dyson reaction when the goal was given. And he threw himself face first into the ground. I thought, fuck me.
As Ralph says, when Maeda scores, he's like, and then he's like, oh, fuck, no right. Because the linesman's get the flag up. And then as you say, you see Maeda kind of looking, waiting. And then they're like, yeah, and everybody goes mental. And he just kind of puts his arm there, but as he falls to the ground, like something out of Platoon, and then just hits the deck, like kind of celebrating, like hammering the ground with his foot, and just overjoyed. I mean, just amazing, absolutely amazing. So Monty and Ralph. So again, like you watched on telly, did they immediately show you, and you knew it was onside, so to speak, so you didn't have as much anxiety as we would have had in the stadium?
Well, the commentator says it's going to count. Before it was announced, I can tell you that the goal will stand.
But in the immediate aftermath,
I
think they delayed it a couple of seconds before any of the VAR lines or analysis came up, so they did a reasonable job of leaving you hanging, until the commentary kicked in. I think it was it Sutton just said he's onside. And then when they did the first replay of it before the lines went up, Desi, it's very clear that Osmand's onside, but Maeda's in an offside position. And that was explained once. But as Ralph said, in that tension before the announcement, they're obviously hearing VAR. And Crocker said, I can tell you that. And they hold it for a few seconds. The goal is going to stand.
Can we just go back to VAR though, Monty, right? Because that without VAR probably would have cost us the league.
Yeah.
Because of our linesman, not even a tight decision. And we criticised Douglas Ross rightly for the one at Easter Road. That was horrendous. He was minimum 2, possibly 3 metres onside Osmand.
But the one thing, not to make an excuse for it, because it was a terrible call and all of with the severity and all that goes with it, he's perfectly in line with Maeda.
Yeah.
The Hearts player is in his eye line to Osmand. So I think that linesman has just assumed ball's played, he's in an offside position. That's it.
Does he think Dyson's crossed it to himself then?
It's not that. I think it's in that split second of what the fuck's just happened, because he doesn't know where the ball has came from. It's not to try and make an excuse, it's just a terrible call. And a linesman should fucking know the game, but I think he was blinded to where Osmand was, and he just went, fuck it, offside, in the knowledge that VAR's going to check.
But I'm sure he flags before the ball even goes into Maeda. He flags thinking...
No. Flag goes up. Maeda scores, flag goes up. Maeda scores, flag
I thought it was flag.
But surely he would have seen that the ball was played back to Maeda.
I think it's just that it's in all of that pressure. You got to remember too, these boys are under pressure. Robertson and those two clowns on the line are under pressure too, especially after what's happened and all the fucking madness from Wednesday night. So the last thing you want to be in that scenario is the guy who makes a critical mistake. And in your subconscious too, Ralph, I suspect these boys know this is going to go to VAR anyway. Fuck it, in that split second, I'll go safe. I think he's offside. I'm fine being overruled. There's no way going it.
You just remind me of something there, right? So I'm up in East Kilbride on Friday watching an amateur cup final, and I said to the linesman, it's in this wee junior ground, but it's an amateur cup game, and I said to the linesman, here mate, how long's left? And I hear the guy going, yep, definitely, okay. And I'm going, who the fuck's he talking to? And the linesman turns round to look at me and goes, 10 minutes. He's got a headset on. They're mic'd up. The linesman and the ref were mic'd up for an amateur cup final. That's the linesman for the refs. So I'm going, is Don Robertson not telling the linesman, you're talking bollocks because he can't be offside because he's obviously, because he can see Osmand. The ref can see Osmand. So surely he should be telling them also. But weird. But Ralph, let's take a wee moment to appreciate Dyson Maeda while we can. I mean, the guy had to step up, and how the hell did that guy? He scored in every split game. Was it 7 and 5? He scored, I think. Apologies if I got that wrong, but he scored in every split game. I can't remember any other player. I can't remember that being a stat, if you know what I mean. But it's some achievement, Ralph Maeda.
He was astonishing again towards the end of the game. But when he's in the middle, he needs a service. He needs people either side him. And we didn't get that until later on. I actually did have a thought when he scored as well that was it was done. But could you imagine if Hearts would get some decent players? Could you imagine what the season would have been like if they get a decent manager as well that hadn't had that attitude of just killing the game?
Let's talk about Maeda, Ralph.
No, sir. He's been brilliant, hasn't he?
As I say, this could be the last time we'll get Saturday's game, Dunfermline, then he goes to the World Cup, and then he goes away. I seen Callum Osmand, Ralph, talking today about how he wishes Maeda spoke English because he would never stop asking him for information of how he plays, the way he plays. And Callum Osmand praised him by saying he's not a footballer, he's a robot. Nobody can play the game like Maeda plays the game.
He's a cheat code, Desi. He's a cheat code. That's
right. Callum Osmand talking. He says it's unbelievable. You can't understand how a player can play like that.
And just as we've been talking about it, and you mentioned going to 3-5-2, we were 3-5-2 with Dyson Maeda. Because if you think about it, he with the 3-5-2, he was a sort of left wing sort of position. Jamesy was right wing. Osmond was playing off Iheanacho. Right, that was what the 3-5-2 would have been. Where was Dyson Maeda when we scored the winning goal from playing left wing back in the number 9 position? I've never seen a player ever with Celtic like him in terms of energy, cover, pressing, every blade of grass on the pitch.
Stamina's unbelievable.
And relentless. Relentless probably for me is relentless in terms of never gives up, always in the goal, always sprinting. And I don't want to talk about this one. We'll do one after the cup final and maybe about his future. I like to keep this on a positive note. But what he basically was the guy that won us the league in the split. It was him. We needed somebody to turn up, and it was him. The facts speak for themselves. He just became incredible that last 5 games of the season.
Yeah. Monty, did it remind you a little bit of the way you used to run around Celtic Park watching Maeda in the last 5 games?
Certainly that level of effort, Desi, and that sort of limitation.
And technique.
And the limitation on technique, but still in the right place at the right time to score a critical goal, albeit mine was in the Rangers end, and I haven't talked about it too much, really, over the years. He's irreplaceable for what he gives you, is that cheat code that Hector talks about, but not to get fucking miserable about it, we're going to have to replace him in the summer. I think a lot of that's going to be driven also by how much money we get from him and the type of football that we're going to play under Steve Clark, the new manager, whenever the new manager comes in. I think Hector's getting excited. He might have some pristine sort of nudges towards who it might be. But I know we said a lot in previous podcasts that we want to watch with Ange. And I'd seen another little thing doing the rounds. This is the end now of our Japanese boom, or our Ange boom. Like the last of the Ange signings, I think, left. Yang? Is Yang an Ange signing? I think he was. The rest of them are gone. But for Maeda and what he's given us, and just that last month, it's almost like someone just rebooted him and said, listen, you're out of here in 6 weeks. Just fucking go for it. Like, he guaranteed his World Cup spot. He had nothing to prove. He's just played with freedom again. And maybe it is the freedom of knowing that the club will
Yeah, but he also cites the fact that the crowd's back, the atmosphere's back. He feels with that energy's back.
And again, another masterstroke that Brian Wilson will claim credit for.
Well, true. We'll come to that maybe later on. But like
The fear. Yeah, I had a fear of a second pitch invasion, which would have been Hector bolting down from the top of the stand with a bottle of baby oil and going for him when I seen him coming out.
Well, see when I said that Dyson won his league, Brian Wilson really won his league, didn't he?
I'm fully determined it was happy ending.
Let's concentrate on the Dyson superstar for now, because as you said, like, it's the fact that he came in, nobody expected anything, scored in his first game. Oh great, we've got this new wee striker that he can do a turn. Kyogo was the star. Maeda was very much the kind of sister in the shadows, and then gradually over time he's this kind of came and surpassed Kyogo. I mean, like, the actual contribution Maeda makes, and it's this, but it is unique because we're kind of spoilt now, Ralph. I think if Maeda goes, which is likely, and he'll go with all your blessing and best of luck to him, and I'm sure he'll come back to Celtic Park sometime in the future for the Paradise Windfall, and we'll all scream Maeda with joy. But we're spoilt now, Ralph, because nobody plays football like him. So, and I'm not talking about exemplary like Henrik Larsson, but nobody plays with that energy, as Hector said, the press, the intensity, the drive, the intensity. So when we next get a striker and we see a centre half with the ball, and you'd see the striker failing to cover 10 yards in 0.5 of a second like Maeda can, we all feel disappointed in the striker. You know what I mean? It's not the striker's fault he's not as fast as Maeda, but we will expect that, Ralph, of every striker now that comes to Celtic. Why are you not as fast as Maeda?
And quite rightly as well. It's not only what he does himself, he brings other people up to that level of effort. And when you need something, when you're kind of up against it, he's the one that'll just not let go. I've not seen an attitude on a player like that probably since as long ago as Roy Aitken, and that kind of we can do this kind of attitude. He just keeps going. It's unbelievable.
Nobody
And
loves his actions with him, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll lead by example.
Yeah.
And even when he does something like the overhead kick against the Rangers, they said he just got lucky. He didn't get lucky. That was technique and everything.
Humble guy, isn't he? But just on the Saturday game, he's a good example of that, right? We'd mentioned that he scores the goal. And he's not playing as a striker. He's not playing. And he scores the goal that puts 2-1 up, right where your number 9 would be, right? But about 2 minutes later, 3-4 minutes later into added time, is he not doing the far left corner, left back position, tackling and beating Shankland to the ball 85, 90 metres down the field? And that typifies him, really, doesn't it? He's a joy, he's something else. He's relentless, he's humble, he's a family guy. And as you said, once he does leave, he's one of those players that everybody will wish him well. There won't be anybody get a bad word to say about him and hope he's a major success when he goes away. And there's no many that happens to.
Yeah. So talking about success stories, etc. Monty, I'll come to you. So the game, hopefully, they showed you the big tifo. There's a fairy tale about the place, Spirit of '86, etc. On the tifo, and one of the subs that we brought on was Callum Osmand. He sets up Maeda's goal with a lovely run and cut across, and then the last kick of the ball, Monty. There's a fairy tale about the place. Hearts get the free kick, and everybody's heart's in their fucking mouth. And let's be honest, we're all fucking, oh Jesus, just thinking back to it. And then, of all the times for a Hearts free kick taker to fuck it up, it's the last kick of the season, last free kick of the season. And then glorious Iheanacho chases down. God bless him. He's the guy that chases the ball down. Callum McGregor steps up for Hector. We've all got a wee part in this goal. Callum McGregor, Iheanacho lays it back to Callum McGregor. McGregor plays a perfect through ball, and it's on you go, Monty. Carry it on, son. Away you go.
Indeed. Reminiscent, as I recall, in my first game at Celtic Park, with Danny McGreen shouting at me from the sideline, on you go.
I think did he not catch? I thought you were going to say he caught you. You were 30 yards.
He probably would have, but he was fucking 20 odd years older than me. the Osmand comes across as a really likeable young fella as well, doesn't he? In his interviews,
Yep.
Just full of life and bubbly. The comment about, I thought it was a wee bit snide, but Rogers saying that he was miles off it when we signed him. Yet O'Neill comes in and thinks, "Fuck, this boy's great," and gives him a debut. And the fantasy one, Hampden Park, he gets that goal. It's just about to get started, gets a tear, not just a hamstring pull, but a tear. He's clearly good. He's clearly got all of that enthusiasm, and an assist and a goal in a game of that importance when you've just literally been thrown back in. Masterstroke stuff. I heard him on one of his clips today, Desi, saying that he would go out and build the statue of O'Neill himself.
Yeah.
When it was
And
asked.
he's changed my life. He said Saturday, he said, Martin O'Neill has changed my life.
Yeah, he's an established professional footballer now at the age of 20. And when's the last time we had a 20-year-old striker who actually looked really good?
And again, we'll no worry about the Iheanacho contract thing, but the last conversation we had, I mentioned I'd be happy if Iheanacho stayed on, but Osmand was your second striker. No, I think he's made that claim now that he's fit and hopefully he can have a really good pre-season. Hopefully he turns up in the cup final and then he could be, right, son, we're going to concentrate around you and another good striker.
Oh,
really good striker.
He'd be fourth behind Adamu and Nvuka.
I was trying to list people who may be away and I was trying to remember their names. Right, so Ralph, Osmand's clean through, you're watching on the telly, they think it's all over. It is now. The crowd are on the pitch. How did it look in the telly? Because in the stand, I was shiting myself that game was getting abandoned. I thought the game was getting abandoned. Because I don't know if you knew, Hector, but in the stadium, that the whistle had been blown. As far as I could tell, Hearts players had been taken off, and I thought, Derek McInnes is no bringing these players out on purpose. He'll cite safety, the police will back him, and we're fucked. That was mad. And I know I'm Mr. Negative, but I was terrified.
No, honestly, no. Just sorry about Ralph. Just wanted to get just back a wee step to the Hearts free kick, and just for those the two listeners who listened to us who weren't at the match, the tension in the stadium. I know the TV sometimes is a bit worse, but the tension when they're taking a free kick, their keeper's up. This is it. They've got, and this is their strength, as we all know. That's where their goal came from. Their strength is set pieces, and you're thinking, fuck. We're all thinking the same. Fuck, man. Yeah. And Spittle hits a shit free kick, hits the first man, and it goes out to Devlin, the wee fucking shite that he is, wee diving fucking shite, snide, kicking up people off the ball, he fucking ballless fud. Anyway, both was to Devlin, and Iheanacho, quick as a flash out to do the press. But Devlin's about to hit it. I don't know what you're thinking, I'm still thinking, oh fuck, no, right.
Two balls, a deflection.
There's that moment where Iheanacho just blocks it and it falls right in front of Calmac, and he looks up and he's got Osmand and right through the middle, obviously James is to it, but just all he has to do is just roll it. And I've never seen that ever at Celtic Park, or score a goal like that, where well, the keeper's up and they can run more than half the length of the pitch. And it was quite surreal, because we know they're 2-1 up, he's got a 60-yard run free and goal, nobody's going to catch him, and he's sprinting, and we're all fucking going nuts before the ball's in the net. That doesn't happen. I mean, think about it. There's 5 seconds of celebrations before the ball's in the net.
Still got 45 yards to go.
And it was just, we're all cuddling fucking.
In my damaged head, I was waiting on 2 hamstrings to go, and Forrest already.
But there's the iconic image when Osmand, I think he's just got to the penalty box, and you see you've got Iheanacho one side and James the other, and they've both got their hands in there. Yeah. What an image! That was to get a photo put up. Right, that'd be the one I'd want.
They were saying, for Christ's sakes, don't pass it, because that was
the linesman actually flagged when he shoots the goal. The linesman flags.
Honestly, I had this horrible feeling he was going to lay it in front for somebody else to score.
But two two things like that. When the aerial view is cracking, it's like no fantasy football or whatever, and you see them all just running away and then heading towards the goal. But one, I'm still annoyed he never turned around and looked, because the Hearts player stops at halfway line. He just chucks it as if I'm not going to get this. So if he'd have turned around and looked, my dream is still to see a professional footballer stop the ball on the line and he'd get in like the old five-a-side. Remember when you used to play in the street? That would have been just perfect. Or even back heeling it in, something like that. But you also see when he scores, he wheels away to the right, they all wheel away. Maeda appears from anywhere. He's literally covered 70 yards of the pitch in about 5 seconds to catch up. For no reason other than to celebrate, and he runs away to the left. You see him running across the goal to celebrate like mad. And it's just, but so where I am, just to give you an idea, and this has taken me 3 days to verify I did not make it up. I told you in the chat, where I am, as I say, I'm halfway, dude. So when the goal wasn't in, I'm just next to the 18-yard line there. And I'm watching the game. So we run through, Osmand runs through, here we go, goal. The crowd just all surge onto the park, and you laugh it. And then for the other stand, the far away stand, I can see a full kit wanker running towards me, waving his arms. I'm going, who the fuck turns up at the game in the full kit, right? Full John Terry style. I'm like, hold on a minute, that's Kieran Tierney, right? Kieran Tierney had been subbed about 10 minutes before. He's written, right? So it was only the day somebody put an image up, and it's Osmand, because we're trying to basically say this goal should not stand. Celtic players are on the pitch who should not be on the pitch. And you see Tierney and somebody else running onto the pitch while Osmand's running into the box. So then he's basically scored. Tierney sprinted across the centre line and then come away wielding back, and he's just celebrating like fucking nuts. And immediately 5 seconds later than that, I looked down, there's Anthony Ralston. Can you go off the pitch, please? He's trying to usher people off the pitch. Ralston, can you go and get off?
Security guard.
He's like, going to get off. Tierney's just going fucking mental. Ralston's trying to make sure we don't get the game abandoned. So, yeah. So how was it on the telly, Ralph? Give us an impression watching on the telly when you suddenly see that, the Charge of the Light Brigade up the park.
So it's a kind of cross between laughter and relief, because if you remember the free kick, and we've had this habit in big games of shooting ourselves in the foot. I'm expecting the ball to drop somewhere, somebody to hook a clearance, it'll bounce off somebody, and the league's gone and I'm no time to come back to it. But when McGregor played the ball forward, it was just relief, because that was it done. And I can understand why a few players ran onto the park as he ran towards the goal.
Right. So I don't think we really need to talk about people running the park that much. But all I could remember.
See, I'm going to talk about it.
No, wait a minute. Give me one. I'll let you talk about it in 20 seconds. All I would like to say is, I was at Love Street in '86. There's been a lot of talk about Spirit of '86 for this campaign. I was at Love Street in '86. Everybody was on the park at Love Street in '86. Exactly. So it was a perfect tribute to '86. That's my point. On you go ahead.
Yeah, see, I'm going to talk about 1998. When we beat St Johnstone 2-0 to Stoke Rangers doing 10 in a row. And there must have been about 10,000 fans on the pitch.
Yeah.
So it's all bollocks. It is all bollocks. There was maybe a few hundred on the pitch, right? And what happened is it became this Hearts players getting attacked. 3 days after the event, there's not been one image or one video. There might be, but we've not seen it yet, showing any Celtic fan hitting or physically assaulting any Hearts player. But what we have seen so far is Long Shankland physically, aggressively pushing a Celtic fan who is probably goading them, no doubt, with some verbals. Hey, guess what? It's football. We get fucking verbals all the time, right? And we've seen one of the Hearts players stamping a Celtic supporter's phone into the ground. So we've seen that. I've not seen one single Hearts player. So the media got what they want. It's when Hibs beat the Huns to win the cup final. Remember the Hibs fans invaded the pitch? And apparently every Rangers fan was attacked by that wanker on STV News. What's his name? Fucking something Smith. Peter. Peter Adam Smith. That wanker. I remember on Twitter the argument at the time. Shows your fucking evidence, because he's a big fucking Rangers fan, Smith. And they were all, shows the evidence. He didn't have one, never once come back on it. I suspect the fucking same thing's going to happen for the weekend where they were not finding one single bit of video footage. They've got the narrative they wanted, but it was the Hearts players, if anything, so far, that have been aggressive in their behaviour. So fuck them. Fuck every one of them.
Right. I think that'll do for the pitch stuff, right? Because nobody cares. I want to concentrate on tributes now. Right, Monty, I'm going to start with you. Martin O'Neill, Monty. A dinosaur in modern times, right? The pensioner in the trackie, the BBC were even going, right? I've wrote a dinosaur in modern times, and we all know what the T-Rex did in Jurassic Park, Monty. Martin O'Neill, class act.
I think the way that the players have spoke of him, it's that sort of, the deference to the senior voice in the room. He's clearly a very charming and likable fella. He clearly knows how to motivate and manage a group of young men in a football team. I think, we got harsh on him. I think, a couple of podcasts ago, I remember Hector mentioned, it's getting a bit fucking boring now. Can we not just, can we change things up? And rightly so. But you're in this real sort of bind now. Do you stick with him? Because he's probably going to win it again next year, but it's not the right course for the club to take, bizarrely. But I think that it's not hyperbole to suggest that we build a statue of him or name something after him for what he's done for the club. And this year, I had wrote this season off, as I'm sure thousands had, not long after Nancy got popped. Because the club's still, and I don't want to bring a negative one, the club is still structurally...
We'll do that next week. We'll do it next week.
The club is still structurally fucked, and this is the irony, that we will win, God willing, we get a good result on Saturday, we will have won the double. If it had been 1 week more patient, it would have been another treble. And we're still saying that the club is structurally fucked. So the entitlement thing is always at the back of your mind. We really all that, but we know where the club needs to go. But Jesus, what a turnaround for 74, 75. Fucking hell.
Well, on that, hold on to get my notes here. On that, thanks, Monty. Just remind me there. Right, Hector, I'll come to you because I've got an interesting. Somebody just remind me of something else here. Hector, I mean, he was retired, put out of the pasture, a former giant in the game, a right player, and suddenly he's dragged back to bail out the club when young wannabes are exposed as total out of depth. How high should the Brian Wilson statue be, or should the name stand over him, Hector? What do you think?
Do you know, it's a weird one, right? Because let's be honest, we've all been, if you go through the podcast, all of us have no time for Wilson and all the other guys and the other execs on the board, right? We're not going to go there tonight because we'll cover that maybe next week, right? But weirdly, and I want to be very brief, and I don't want to go negative, right? But Nicholson being the fucking, an ability to communicate anyway. But so Wilson, after Law left at Christmas, he's interim chairman, but he's been doing all the comms. An interim chairman who's a part-time role has been doing all the comms, all the media interviews, all the comms to the supporters. He wants the Green Brigade back at the stadium. The Desmonds didn't, and it was Wilson that pushed to get that done. So he's been out asking for unity, got the Green Brigade back in. That was pivotal as well for the last run-in, because Celtic Park, Desi, me and you were there. Yep. This was jumping for the Falkirk game when they were back in, wasn't it? So I think Wilson does deserve credit. Martin O'Neill, my God, right? Twice in one season, and in both occasions, the first time his points record was amazing. But then coming in again the second time, you think, oh, and some of the performances were awful. And they were awful. We're not going to rewrite history, guys. We're all agreed, and supporters would agree. But he won us the league, and we seem to hit a bit of form the last few weeks, which probably coincided with some of the good players coming back. Alistair Johnston coming back, Engels coming back in, even Osmand coming on for the last game out of nowhere. So the man deserves every bit of credit possibly going. Martin O'Neill, he already was a legend, right? Now he's just cemented that. What's beyond a legend? Iconic? I don't know. I really don't know the word for it. But the man deserves, do you know what? Not posthumous. He deserves to have a statue while he's here and fit and able. Let's get it done. Let's get it done over the next few months. It's Celtic way. Let's get Martin O'Neill a statue so the man can be there.
the
when they do it.
reluctance to honour McCann and O'Neill has to stem from something else.
No,
You know, in any other, I'm not talking corporation. I'm not talking about fucking Mr. Nakatomi, having given 50 years of his life service to the company, and let's put his photograph up here in the Hall of Fame. Like in any other institution that touches society to the extent that a large football club like Celtic does, there's a statue of Bobby Robson, I believe, outside St James's Park. All these football clubs, like I could rhyme them off if I think about them. They all do, but they all seem to, as you say, they wait. So there had to be something more. Maybe it's a reluctance. Maybe people don't want, and while they're still in their twilight years, they don't want that recognition. Maybe it's awkward. But McCann and O'Neill, for me, deserve to have something more enduring than just on the record what they did. And
I love Daniel constantly talking about, he's like, he plays the daft old uncle or daft old granda. Sometimes you go, right, enough, Martin. You do, right? There's a time and a place for it. But most of the time he's spot on with it. But the amount of times that he's mentioned the energy he's got from the other coaches, from Maloney, from Fotheringham and the other guys involved there. And you could see that then with him. You can actually see, visually, you can see how they bounced off each other. And here's a wee example, right? When the game had finished on Saturday and they got the trophy and they were doing the tour, lap of honour. And it comes down to the Green Brigade section. And who should be there getting pushed to Martin O'Neill in front of the Green Brigade? Think about that for a second. The area that the directors and the Desmonds had banned pretty much 3/4 of the season, and Martin was asking for unity and getting them back in. There's the manager, there's 74-year-old Martin O'Neill, right, down there, in front of the Green Brigade, the players are all together, they're doing the they're trying to get him to do it. He's applauding them. That in itself told you enough, I think, about what he wanted and the importance of unity. And we'll know, right?
That was his first words, wasn't it? That was his first words in his speech. When this place is unified, this place is something special. But Ralph, quick point to you. Somebody just reminded me in the Twitter feed there. Quick point to you. Is Saturday's game and the result a clear indicator that the Scottish press should maybe have their Manager of the Year awards a little bit later in the season?
I think they should have had all the awards a wee bit later in the season. Would they get goal of the season with Maeda? Would they get Manager of the season for O'Neill? Result of the season? Minute of the season? Everything. All within the last couple of weeks.
And again, you just remind me, Hook Evans last week, just again playing a dottery old fucking pantomime villain nonsense. He's like, this game is all about a fact or fate. The Celtic fans believe it's fate that they'll win this, but the fact is Hearts have a better team. Celtic are literally one Schmeichel mistake away from a potential treble. You know what I mean? This season. If Rodgers had actually played a fit keeper, and then I seen somebody mention today, Aberdeen didn't actually technically have a shot and goal in the cup final. Schmeichel put the ball in the net. No, that way so if we were literally that self-employed, we made that happen in that final. It still annoys me. But that just shows that then O'Neill got us to that final, the League Cup final that we then fucked up against St Mirren. Nancy fucked up against St Mirren. And then O'Neill. And again, Hector, just to touch on something you mentioned, O'Neill came the first time, and then the board fucked him about near the end, remember? He went, I don't know if I'll be here next week. Remember all the wee shitey bits? As if they were just stringing him along, and it felt really fucking shitty the way they were treating him.
It was probably to save 50 grand in wages with Nancy or something, right?
That shitty way. It wasn't just the board and the fans. They were shitty to everybody, including somebody like Martin O'Neill.
Here's what I would say, Des, with Martin O'Neill, right? I hope Martin O'Neill wins the double. We all do, wins the double next week. And that is Martin. Martin then, rightly, he's nearly 70, 75, right? He's touched upon the stress, the intensity, right? He's got a lovely life, his family in London. I hope Martin says, right, you know what, that's me, right, in terms of the manager's role at Celtic. And it's and he gets the round of applause and the lap of honour at Hampden on Saturday, hopefully winning it. But the club ensure they keep him on. They've got to keep Manny at the club. In a part-time role where he can come up to Celtic Park maybe 2 days a week or 1 day a week. I'd heard, I think we'd mentioned in this previous podcast, that the chairman role was his if he wanted it. Right. Now, I don't know enough about the business side of things, maybe we want his space, but for Martin to step and be a chairman, which is a sort of part-time role, he has the intelligence to do it. He's got the club knowledge of the club inside out. He's got the football and I suspect the business background, legal background as well. I mean, is that not a kind of guy you'd want in that type of role if he wants to do that? I don't know.
Especially in this rocky aftermath. We can talk about this more on next week. But he would be the ideal to get from where we were and where we are to get to where we need to be. He could really smooth a lot of the rough edges in between.
Because the next manager's a 3 to 5 year. Everything should be 3 to 5 years. It's a massive rebuild this summer. And Martin for one season, sorry, but that's no a rebuild. You're looking at 3 to 5 years, getting a whole. But looking at maybe 12 to 15 players coming in this summer, right? That's transformational. But we'll cover that. We'll cover
that with the long World Cup. But I want to come to Monty. I've got a finance question for you, Monty. We've not really touched on the finances, but Monty, should Celtic ask for a refund from the stewarding company after such a poor performance of stewarding on Saturday? That's big bucks we're talking about here.
You use it to offset the fucking mad $1.5 million that seemingly Kavanagh wants for the cup match at Ibrox. I think you're trading. I've seen that floating.
65-inch telly that we destroyed.
Fucking amazing. Clearly his insurance isn't paying out on the damage because he underinsured the game and undercopped it, allegedly. Do you know, Desi, it wouldn't surprise. We talked about O'Neill and getting him out the door to save maybe 50 grand in consultancy fees. It wouldn't surprise me. And it's the difference in having leaders in senior positions and having functionaries. And the most polite that I could be towards Nicholson and McKay is that they're just functionaries, but they're extremely well paid and they're never going anywhere. I think the guaranteed shot at the Champions League with one qualifier, again, we talked about it on the podcast after Wednesday. It's another KPI ticked, league championship in the bag. Saturday brings us to a double, bonus territory. Be interesting to see if we actually paid any money out to Brenton. We'll find out in next year's accounts. Kennedy, probably. I'd imagine there's some severance for Kennedy, unless he was sacked. So the numbers are going to tell us a tale, Desi. We've had the boycott, we've had the not another penny thing, which has been rightly put to the side, but both of those things are fucked now.
We can touch on them next week.
That's for next week.
That's all for next week.
Right, so Val,
that's just that last point, Desi. We're at this absolute, I wouldn't even call it a crossroads now, Desi, as a football club. We're at a fork in the road, and we've got to get it right. And I'm just not sure. Well, anyway, next week.
Again, a week's a long time in politics. It's even longer in football. Things may all come to pass by the time of next week. Ralph, for you, James Forrest, now a clear leader in the titles and medals, etc. 14 titles now, Ralph. Your old friend James Forrest, and playing against his brother on Saturday. Apparently, I never saw it. Apparently, there was a really nice photo of him and his brother hugging at the end of the game. And then his sister, I think she got Player of the Year also.
Medal of the week before. Yep.
There was
not a bad time for the Forrest family. Well,
there was a bit in the commentary with Sky where the commentator said, "I'm now coming on as Alan Forrest," and his sister, I can't remember her first name. His sister has just won
Lisa Forrest, is it?
Lisa. She's just won a medal with the women's team at Glasgow City, and James could win another championship. And then he said something, and one of them today will miss out. And then he went, unless of course Celtic win the cup next week, and he just made a complete arse of it. And for James Forrest, another season he could end up with 30, I think, in total medals.
Well,
but the one thing that I do know that he hasn't got, that he would, if there was ever to be a campaign, if you go back to the quadruple treble, he didn't get a cup winners medal because he was injured. So he's the only player from that whole squad that doesn't have the full set of medals. And if Celtic were going to print off or make or ask for another medal, it would be that one that he's missing. And I'm fairly sure that he would appreciate that if the supporters would mount a campaign.
I think he's got enough to. He can melt almost. He can just pick one at random and melt it down. He'll be fine. But hopefully, so right. Let's quickly. We're well over time. Let's quickly go to Saturday's game. Dunfermline, Neil Lennon. Rangers fans have to support Celtic so that we do not beat Dunfermline and consign Rangers to the Conference League. So they're really in a boundary, a quandary. Sorry, Rangers fans. Hector, what do you think the score will be, and how do you see it going quickly, please?
We'll win. I think we'll win convincingly. I think we're tails are up. Week's rest. Hampden, the Martin O'Neill's probably his final game. Everything points to me to a Celtic win, 2 or 3 goal victory.
Okay, Monty, a Lurgan man viewing a Lurgan man. What do you think?
Lenny, for all his Celtic tendencies, will have them up for this immensely, but our quality will, without a doubt, see us through. Wouldn't surprise me if they took the lead and had this heroic back to the wall thing. The difference between them and Hearts, they'll try to play a bit of football. I think we'll run out comfortable, Desi, 3 or 4-1.
Ralph, what's your thoughts?
We've not had a 7-0 yet this season.
There it is. There it is. That's it.
But having said that,
and finally, the Stella kicks in.
No, but that would make sure Lenny does not go for the job in the 6 hours. Right, one last question, but do you think the World Cup will have any impact on Saturday's game? Should we rest players and let them go to the World Cup? Or do we go full tilt?
You pay their wages, no?
Fucking listen to the guy in the fucking posh suburbs there. We pay their wages. I mean, where's your romance? Where's your romance? Yeah, let them go if they deserve it.
Chance.
It's only the Scottish Cup.
No, don't care. Not a chance.
Okay, final. Let's end on a quick quiz. Can you name all of the Celtic players going to the World Cup? We have Sarachi from Monty. Ralph, can you name one?
Johnston.
Oh, okay. Hector.
I'll keep it Ralston.
Yep. Monty.
Tierney.
Yep. Ralph.
Trusty.
Nope. I've never seen it. I've not seen the US team, so I'll give you a maybe. I've not seen that. Just the
I'll go for Norway's best player, Benjamin Nygren.
Correct. Well done. Nice. Monty.
Yang.
Well done. Nice. Andy's
Fucking Yang's the World Cup. No
yeah,
way.
He was one of the first to get named.
They must be push.
Ralph.
Have we had Maeda?
Nope, we have not. Well done. Maeda's in. Hector.
Paul McStay.
Representing Australia. Maybe. Monty.
Is Arne Engels in the squad?
No.
Oh, that's all written here. Raskin before Engels.
Raskin before Engels.
Yeah. So I think that will explain why Raskin down tools for the fucking full month. He's like, I'm no chance of losing the World Cup.
Well, Maeda didn't down tools for a month, did he?
Monty.
Taneki.
Well done, Taneki for Tunisia. Who else do we have? And then we also had a loanee. There's a loanee going. There's 2 loanees. One
loanees. Araujo got the call.
Well done for Mexico. So Trusty, Ralph, my apologies. Trusty may be going for the States, but I didn't see their list today.
Don't think they're announced yet.
Officially announced. There's some squads not been announced yet. So apologies if he is in it and I've missed it. So there we are, folks. That was Saturday. The wonderful end to a disastrous season, I think we could say, for this season. We never saw it coming, but by God, we enjoyed it. Maeda, Martin O'Neill, God bless the 2 of them. Brian Wilson, Hector, God bless your new T-shirt collection. It's just left to the cup final now. We'll wait and see if the team can pick themselves up. Hopefully everyone has seen the pictures of the team out celebrating, and every time they get a photo taken, they'll get their hands over their heads on the Motherwell penalty. So if you look out for those pictures of all the team guys out getting a photo taken in the town. Right, so it's just left for me to say thank you to Ralph Mal. Thank you, Ralph.
Cheers, enjoyed that.
Enjoy the rest of your holiday. Will you be in Devon for the cup final, Ralph?
No, I'll be back up the road. Yeah.
Oh, well, you'll get to see it. That's fine. Thank you to Monty C. Burns. Monty Cup Final Burns. Thank you, Monty.
Yes. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to the game, and thanks to my very well connected ticket contact for that. Still on the hunt for another one, by the way.
Well, that's right. The Glory Hunter's been asking for tickets all week, folks. So if you can help Monty out, preferably one that serves really hot coffee at half time, that would be nice. Yes, and Monty's managed to. How did the Armagh, the GAA go last week, Monty, just to get
Armagh are Ulster champions, or as you pointed out, the Northern Ireland Cup winners.
Ulster champions. That's it. The North Britain Cup, well done.
North British Cup winners, yes.
Lovely. Okay, and finally to our tactician, Hector Bandino. Thank you, Hector.
Yes, guys, thank you.
Okay, folks, we'll be back for our final pod of the season next week after the Cup final. Hope everyone has a great Cup final. My name is Osmand. Good night.
Big Tams of the Gallowgate are proud to sponsor the ETims podcast for season 25-26. Are you wanting to sell an unused party bus? Are you thinking, just 3 more minutes? Do you know your chance of fame has now gone forever? Fear not, we have Cheer Up Derek McInnes DVDs available right now. Big Tams, haunting sad We Hearts fans from 1986 to 2026 and for another 40 years.
Top of the league for most of the year. Fans already buying the champions beer. 1 game left, just needed a draw. Then everything crashed like never before. You're Albert kidding me? Not again, not history. 3 minutes from the title dream, then it disappeared dramatically. 1 minute singing proudly, next minute staring silently. You're Albert kidding me? They scored first, the fans went wild, phones came out, everybody smiled, and the boys turned up right at the end and broke 1,000,000 hearts again. You're Albert kidding me? Another football tragedy. 1 hand reaching for the cup, then suddenly it all blew up. Scars over faces miserably, watching pure disbelief on TV. You're Albert kidding me? 3 minutes, that's all it took. From future champions to history book. You're Albert kidding me? Still no championship victory. The boys stole it at the death and left the fans with nothing left. 1 minute dreaming perfectly, next minute total misery. You're Albert kidding me?
The players, the coaching staff have given me a reason to live as much as, and that's not to say my family haven't, but this is the most special place on earth. I think that when there is absolute unison in this stadium, it is a sight to behold. And I think, obviously the players have been absolutely magnificent, epitomised by the captain, but overall we could not have won it without you. Absolutely not. Thank you very much. Thank you.